Kia ora tātou. Welcome to this meeting of the Dunedin City Council's Community and Culture Committee, Gong Shi Fatsai. Happy New Year and wishing you all a prosperous year of the pig, which seems like an odd provocation perhaps in this, the year of our Lord 2019. We have apologies for the meeting from Councillor Staines, Councillor Lorfiso, Councillor Wilson, Councillor Gary for lateness. The Mayor perhaps for early departure, although hopefully not necessary. Councillor Steadman? Okay. I'll remind people that quorum of the meeting is 8 elected members at any given time. Yeah, a shorter list would be who's planning on staying. And Councillor Benson Pope for early departure potentially. Councillor Newell, you'll be here the whole time. Thank you. Well, I'll move that notable list of apologies be accepted. Seconded, Councillor Rauder. All those in favour? Those against? That's agreed. Confirmation of the agenda. I'll move that the committee confirm the agenda with the following alteration in regard to Standing Order 2.1, Option C, be adopted in relation to moving and seconding and speaking to amendments. Seconded, Councillor Newell. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? That's agreed. Declarations of interest. I'll move that the committee notes the elected members' interest register attached as Attachment A and confirms the proposed management plan for elected members' interests. Seconded, Councillor Elder. All those in favour? Those against? That's agreed. We have significant grants committee minutes to be confirmed from the 26th of September 2018, the 23rd of October 2018 and the 19th of November 2018. I'll move them all to be confirmed by this meeting. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Any discussion? All those in favour? Those against? That's agreed. And further, I'll move that the committee note the minutes of the Toi Tuatago Settlers Museum Board meetings held on 1 August 2018, 19 September 2018 and 7 November 2018, that those minutes be noted. Seconded, Councillor Elder. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favour? Those against? That's agreed. Thank you. Part A reports. Otago Museum report to contributing local authorities August to October 2018. I'm informed by staff that a more recent quarterly report was received sadly after the deadline for the agendas going out had passed, and I would like to pass on the apologies of Dr. Griffin, who is usually a very enthusiastic attendee and participant in these meetings, but has been overtaken by events at the museum and is unable to make it. So questions of the report may prove difficult to answer in this instance, but if Mr. Dixon, if you want to come forward, seeing as you have to subsequently anyway, if people have any questions of the report, we're happy to note them and get answers from Dr. Griffin in writing if people have things that they want answered at this meeting. So are there any questions for our new GSO to note down and have answered? No. Would someone like to move that the report be noted? Moved. Councillor Newell, seconded. Councillor Elder. Any discussion? Councillor Elder.
Just one point in that report, which I'm quite passionate about, having used the museum a lot when my children were little, and they still use it now as grown-ups, and that is the amount of work that's being done with lower socioeconomic areas and bringing them into the museum. I think it's a fantastic place for children to learn. It's very interactive, three-dimensional, hands-on, and is quite inspirational. And I know that my children found it inspirational, but allowing access and providing access to people who don't normally get it and supporting that, I think, is fantastic. And I just really commend the museum for all the work they're doing in that space.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Lord.
Well, I guess Mr. Griffin's not here, but I was just going to comment that I thought particularly the project he did around autism and back in August. I just think that's quite a special. It's a very difficult situation for people that have autism, and to have specific programs designed for people with autistic children, I just think, and of various ages, just autism in general, but I just think that this epidemic of knowledge and the things he's done about autism have been good.
Thank you. Anything further? In that case, I'll put it. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Aratoi Otapoti and UNESCO City of Literature Key Activities and Achievements. Mr Dixon, welcome. Ms Glengarry, hovering in the background, sorry, hard to know. And Ms Page, here to answer questions as they arise. Okay. Any comments from you, Mr Dixon, in the first instance?
No, I'm happy to take the report as read, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. No? All thoroughly explained. Councillor Wiley has indicated that he'll move the noting of the report. Is there a seconder? Seconder, Councillor Hall. Any discussion? His Worship the Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I just want to note under item 11 on page 71, key areas City of Literature during the period, and I note the Little Landers literature, the program with the Pulse Energy Highlanders, and it's an example of how the creative sector can be leveraged in really innovative ways for the benefit of our community. And I just want to note that because, you know, as a creative city of literature, we tend to think in rather rarefied terms sometimes, and we think that the only way you can apply it is with high-level literature or poetry or whatever. But here's an example of literacy and literature being used really constructively for the benefit of our community and leveraging our creative city status. And so I'd just like to note how constructive that is.
Thank you. Further speakers? No? In that case, it's been moved and seconded, has it? Yeah. In that case, I'll put it. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 11, Community and Culture Non-Financial Activity Report for the quarter ended 31 December 2018. Welcome, Ms Gunn.
I also have Ben Hawke, who's a member of the Dunedin Youth Council, with me today to answer any questions on the Youth Council's report appended to the quarterly report.
Thank you. And can I just start by extending the thanks on behalf of not just this council but this community to your team, Joy, for what has been a fairly extraordinary week of civic events, guided as they are largely by calendars we don't control, but with Chinese New Year on the Tuesday, Waitangi Day on the Wednesday, and then Thieves Alley on the Saturday. I hope this week is a more restful one for your small but dedicated team. But thank you for that. That was a remarkable effort. Any introductory comments either of you want to make to these papers?
No, thank you, Chair.
Happy to take it as read.
Thank you. Any questions? I just have one, and it's around, there's mention of the use of the operating funding allocated for support of former refugees and migrants and its application to community interpreter services. Just wondered if you were comfortable expanding a little on how you see that working.
So we've been working with the District Health Board, which already has a group of trained interpreters, so they are happy to extend the service with some funding to us from the health-related services they currently support to provide that to any community organisation and former refugee working with a community organisation in the city. So what we have done is provided a fairly extensive starter list to the District Health Board of a set of organisations that could utilise that based on consultation with both Red Cross, some of the former refugees, and also with community groups in the city. We would be open to add to that list if and when there was a need to do so. The service itself has yet to start. It's taken some time to just get it coordinated, but we're hoping it will begin this month. And the DHB will be sending, between us and the DHB, sending information to the organisations to let them know the process that they need to go through to book an interpreter so that they can work with former refugees. The kinds of services we think that people will use will be things like budget advisory services, some of the social service agencies within the city, which are currently not funded by central government to provide an interpreter.
Because my understanding of the existing government contracts is that access to interpreter services that's funded through that mechanism only includes government departments and government agencies or contractors at this point, right?
That's right, and services, community services can use what was Language Connect, but now just been relaunched under a new provider nationally. However, that is not a face-to-face interpreting service, and so as an example, if you were going to be referred to a community organisation, you may have an initial 1 to 2 hour appointment to work through while you're there, and that can't be successfully done via a phone interpreter.
And just lastly on that, when do you anticipate this pilot or this service being operative?
We have a contract with the DHB sitting there ready to be signed, so I'm hoping by the end of this month.
Fantastic. Thank you. Councillor Newell.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question for the Youth Councillor. I know that you, in September, you had a speaking event. You're having difficulty getting people to put their hand up and actually take part. How did it end up? And did you get enough people speaking? How did the event go?
So we on the 22nd, we held a speaker event. We had, I think it was between like 6 or 8 speakers. And we used an application process which we distributed throughout the secondary schools and got applications, and then we kind of just looked at the applications and figured out who we wanted to speak on the topic Your Place in the World, and I feel like it went really well, and it was a good experience in event planning for the youth councillors that were involved. Yeah, so I think it went really well, and we hope to do it again this year.
Good on you. Thank you.
Councillor O'Malley.
I have a follow-up question on the next item, which is your Child and Youth Wellbeing Strategy, HUI. What is your feedback on how that went, and how much demand do you think is in the school system and for young people for some wellbeing assistance, I guess?
It went really well. We felt welcomed, and it was a really good experience. I feel like the HUI was very much needed in terms of support for youth and children, because we don't really get, especially once you're over 13, you don't really get much assistance, and mental health issues can become a problem, especially after into your teens, after 13, and we don't really get much support, I guess, because like free doctor's visits only to 13, I think, and yeah, so it was good to be able to have the conversation with the Ministry of Health and the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet around that, and I feel like youth representation at that HUI was probably it was very important for the understanding of what is needed and things like that.
Further questions? Would someone like to move that the report be noted moved? Councillor Newell, seconded Councillor O'Malley. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Newell? Any speakers? I just want to pick up again briefly on the support for former refugee interpreter services and thank, in her absence, Councillor Lawfiso for bringing to our long-term plan discussions the proposal to provide greater financial support for that community. There's a real challenge in that part of the Red Cross contract is aiming to transition a former refugee whānau into the communities and transition them away from government services and government support agencies into community-led ones. But at the moment, and this isn't just a Dunedin problem, it's a problem around the country, there is no government funding to support interpreter services at that community support, not-for-profit sector level. So thank you. So it's useful to have the money, and thank you to staff for doing the work and negotiating with the DHB who will coordinate this work. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of demand for this service, but I think yet again this is a great example of the collaborative approach that this city has taken to supporting former refugees as a resettlement location, and it's fantastic to be showing this degree of leadership in how we manage that. It's going to become increasingly complex over time as the languages spoken in our community evolve with the refugee resettlement program, but I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this, I suppose, in further supporting positive resettlement experiences. Councillor Elder.
Oh, I just... That was just to say thank you to Joy and the team for all the work they've done in South Dunedin and strengthening and empowering the group through hui and conversations to the point where now they've got a place-based worker, and I just feel like, from my observation right from the start, people are going from strength to strength, and more people are being included and voices heard, and I just congratulate you on that work.
Thank you. Further speakers? There being none, I'll put it. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Item 12, items for consideration by the Chair. None. In that case, I'll move, as per the order paper, that committee move into non-public. Seconded, Councillor Elder. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried.